Hi, this is Marie. I'm calling from Kansas.
Hi, Marie. How are you?
Good. I was calling for a couple reasons. One was if you have any interest, I could give you an update on Sam Brownback's experiment gone awry.
Oh, indeed. The last thing I heard was that the legislature had basically put into effect the idea that people getting temporary assistance could only take out $25 a day via an ATM, which of course I don't know how easy it is in Kansas to find an ATM that gives out $5 bills. I've never seen it in New York City or state in ages. A, and B, I assume the fees are pretty close to being as high there. That means you're basically losing 5 to 10% of what you're getting every time you take it out.
That's all very true, and they're quickly backpedaling on that, trying to fix it. But what's going on right now is that we have a $400 million hole in our budget because of the tax cuts that Brownback pushed through in 2012. And he also, in a very big change from tradition in Kansas, where a lot of Republicans have been moderates in the past, he basically purged all the moderates from the legislature. And now it is completely dysfunctional and in disarray. They're 10 days beyond what was supposed to be the end of their session, and they're basically throwing out crazy ideas to try and patch this hole that they absolutely cannot go back on these tax cuts that Brownback did in 2012. So it's turning into a total disaster with the legislature basically the one handpicked by Brownback, unable to produce a budget in the end.
But I don't understand how this is possible, because my understanding is that Arthur Laffer, the famed economist, advised Sam Brownback that if you cut taxes on the wealthy, what happens is you actually increase revenue, because when you cut taxes like this, it stimulates so much business by the wealthy in that state or country that it increases revenue. And it's completely, I guess, counterintuitive unless you understand business like Arthur Laffer does. And so how is it possible that there's this massive deficit even after Brownback has slashed education, slashed everything essentially that had a pulse?
Well, it just so happens I can speak directly to that because I'm a small business owner, and thanks to Sam, I did get a $8,000 cut in my Kansas state taxes, and no, I didn't hire someone based on that. I took a nice vacation, and I've been trying to
I hope you went to New York State and spent the money in New York State.
No, I went to Utah, believe it or not. But anyway, the thing is, you don't hire people because you get a tax cut. You hire people because you have increased demand. And the economy in Kansas is so-so right now. It's really hard to get people to come through the door and spend their money.
No, but wait a second. Didn't you go out? I mean, see, this is a perfect example. So what he did is he got rid of, if I remember correctly, he got rid of the taxes for S corps, right? For small businesses and maybe for LLCs.
Yes, all pass through.
Now, these people are not going to take that amount of money, $8,000. Obviously, it's not enough to hire somebody, but why would you hire somebody unless you had all this pent-up demand? But if you had all this pent-up demand for your services, whatever it was, you could afford to hire somebody because the demand would pay for it. So instead, you're making enough so that you can actually afford what you need to buy on a regular basis. So you either stock that money away and put it in stocks, literally, which aren't going to help the economy in Kansas, or you go out and maybe you take a vacation, and that doesn't necessarily help anybody in Kansas, or you go out and buy maybe a one-off luxury purchase, which also, again, really doesn't necessarily help anybody in Kansas unless you guess you're you're buying like, I don't know, $8,000 worth of those famous Kansas muffins or whatever it is. I don't know what is Kansas. I guess you buy a lot of corn muffins.
What
or
is
something.
the Kansas luxury market?
Wheat. Okay,
It's
so
the
there you
wheat
go.
state.
You buy the world's biggest loaf of bread and hope it doesn't go stale.
Exactly. Now, I want to make one quick point, if you don't mind.
Please.
The thing about Kansas, and it's really sad because, like I said, the Republicans in Kansas used to be very moderate. And what's happened over the years is that the ultra-conservers have leveraged abortion as
Right.
an issue.
Right.
And they've basically trained all the voters, the Republican voters in Kansas, to vote for the person who's most anti-abortion. And so people just go in there and automatically pull the lever. They don't pay attention to anyone else's politics. And that you end up with these ultra-conservative nutcases running the show. And they literally do not know how to run the government.
Here's what I want to ask you. Here's what I want to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just that they go in and they're a single issue voter, or has the Republican Party in Kansas been effective in creating a broader identity that is based around an anti-choice position, but this idea of like cutting taxes becomes also almost a similar religious tenet? Like, you know, like identity politics. Like, I am anti-choice, and I'm also for pro-cutting taxes. Like, that becomes just an article of faith. Or is it they don't even pay attention to what's happening on the economic side of the ledger? They just vote for these people because they're anti-choice.
Well, a lot goes along with the anti-choice, but the truth is that the state has always been run quite well in the past by these moderates, and it was never an issue of having a budget that balanced before. And the problem is that because Democrats don't come out and say they're anti-abortion, because of course they're not, they immediately will never vote for a Democrat. They're
Right.
always going to vote for the Republicans. It really shocked me when I moved here that there really wasn't any. I mean, there isn't a Democratic choice, almost never.
Wow.
And I really think that they've gotten a lot out of this whole abortion thing. I mean, when they first got into power with all these crazy conservatives, they spent months on end just coming up with different laws that they could put in place to make it harder and harder to get an abortion. And I think that there's really something there. There's something about that issue that just has really propelled them to this place where they got there because of the social issues, but they can't govern.
That's certainly Thomas Frank's argument.